Good morning. Well, after this miracle in Cana, where the disciples must have been amazed at what they'd seen, Jesus himself now heads back towards Capernaum. It seems that he moved Mary at this time from their home in Nazareth down to Capernaum to be near to her sister, the wife of Zebedee and the parents of James and John. Later on in his ministry, we are told that he was preaching and teaching in Capernaum, and it says he was at home. He wasn't in somebody else's house. He was at home. So he had obviously moved Mary there and was living there with her at that particular time. Well, do you remember the story when they brought the paralyzed man to him, took the roof off the house and lowered him in front of Jesus? That was Jesus' own home. That's where he was living with Mary at that particular time. But now, having gone back to Capernaum, I expect he said to the disciples, well, now go back to your business and carry on with it. And when it's necessary, I'll look you up again. I will send for you again. Because the Spirit now is going to lead him out into the wilderness. Jesus himself has to work out how his ministry is going to actually develop. He knew he had the power. I mean, he'd always known he'd been a son of God. I mean, this was obvious, for instance, when he was 11 years of old and he had his bar mitzvah. After the bar mitzvah, Joseph and Mary traveled back with the party down to Jericho. Then they find Jesus isn't in the party, and they've got to turn round, and they have to go all the way back to Jerusalem. And they find him in the temple amongst the other disciples of the rabbis, talking and discussing the things of theology with these people. And Mary goes to him and says, why have you treated us like this? Why have you done this? And Jesus looks at her in absolute amazement, because Mary had said to him, your father and I have been searching for you. And he says, well, didn't you realize I've had my bar mitzvah? I must now be in my father's house. You see, when a young boy had his bar mitzvah, he entered the job that his father was doing. He became an apprentice to his father. And now Jesus is almost saying to Mary, yes, Joseph and you, I'm living with you, and I'm going to come back to Nazareth with you, and I'm going to be with you for the next 18 years until my ministry starts. But he talks about God as his father. Didn't you know I must be in my father's house? In other words, I'm left childhood. I'm now starting my apprenticeship. I'll be apprentice to Joseph as a carpenter, but God is now going to train me and show me what it means to truly be his son in the world. But having come back to Capernaum and having had his mother settled there, he now goes off into the wilderness, because we are told that the Spirit led him into the wilderness in order, this is the point, in order that he should be tempted by the enemy. See, when a ship is built and is finally commissioned, the captain of that ship will say, come on, we're going to do a trial run. We're going to take the ship out of the harbour. We're going to have a look to see what it can do. And if the captain is a good captain, he'll make sure everything is working on the ship. Then you think, now, where can I really put this ship through its paces? Where can I find a really good storm that we can get into? Because that's where we're going to find everything that isn't working properly. Let's have this shakedown voyage and make sure this ship is up to scratch. Because he takes it into the storm. Suddenly, they find everything on the ship that isn't quite fitting properly or correctly. And having come out of the storm, they then know what they have to do to make the ship completely seaworthy and able to be used for whatever purpose it has been built. In the same way, the Spirit now takes Jesus out into the wilderness. And we are told he fasted for 40 days. Now, this is a strange thing again. He had plenty of water, by the way. He wasn't fasting from water, but he's fasting from food. The human body, you see, if it gives up food, will for a while feel hungry for 3 or 4 days. And then it'll change its metabolism. And instead of looking for food coming from outside, it'll start burning up all the fats and things it has stored in its own body. And the person won't feel hungry for some time until all these are gone. But then when all these are gone, suddenly the body will feel hunger again. And after 40 days of fasting and praying, we are told he suddenly began to feel this hunger. he's coming towards the end of his fast. And during this time of praying and thinking, he'd been trying to work out what his ministry was. And it is at this time that the enemy comes to him. He's now ready. He's been through the shakedown trials. He's been through this difficult time of thinking and praying, that the enemy comes to him and says, now, you think you've got this power, do you? You think you can do this, do you? You're really believing that you are the Son of God, are you? Well, let's find out if you are. You're feeling hungry, aren't you? And as you look around, you know from Nazareth where you're living, you know from the world in which you're living, many people are hungry. Well, if you've got this power, if you are the Son of God, as you think you are, if you are the Son of God, well, turn stones to bread. You know, everybody will come because they need food. Turn stones to bread. We carry on again tomorrow.